Greetings, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. I am sure by now we are all well aware of the existence of BookTok, which, you know, obviously there is a space on TikTok for everything, and BookTok is obviously the space on TikTok that exists for people to talk about books, and it has a bit of a reputation. Ultimately, I think having designated spaces online to speak about things is beautiful. It's wonderful. I love fandom spaces and spaces like that exist. I am on book Twitter, for example, more specifically, All for the Game Twitter, which is a subcategory of queer book Twitter, which is a subcategory of book Twitter, right? And the same exists on TikTok, where there is BookTok, and then, you know, there are sections of which people talk about specific books and fandom spaces. But the one that has made a bit of a name for itself and that a lot of people refer to when talking about BookTok, and what we are going to be focusing on today specifically, is the dark romance section of BookTok. Now, as I said, I think it is great that people are coming together to read books, to talk about books. I think that the fact more people are reading is fantastic. I am a massive advocate for having these spaces online to talk about these things and to indulge in these things. I have lived in fandom spaces for the past, I don't know, like over a decade. I have existed in fandom spaces online, and it's one of my favorite things in the world. I love it. I love being on book Twitter and talking about my favorite books and stuff. And so I am in no way against the existence of BookTok, of places to indulge in fandom culture and to have these conversations and to share passions with people, because I think they are a beautiful part of life. But I have also seen, like, as well as a lot of positives to these spaces, there are also some negatives that come along with these spaces as well. I wanted to talk about it because I think that there are a lot of dangers in this sort of part of TikTok. There's a lot of stuff that is like romanticized that really shouldn't be. And there are real world consequences to some of the things that are happening there and the discussions that are being had, and I think we need to talk about it. So we are going to get into that. And if you want to see me talking about books that I love and I enjoy, and you want to share in books with me that are not along this vein, then you can check out my second channel, Kiwi, Q-I-W-I. I posted a year wrap up of all the books I read last year, and I'm planning on doing like a semi-regular one throughout the year. So if you wanted to keep up with me and what I'm reading and have conversations about books with me, then that is a place to go do that. Subscribe here because 50% of you are not subscribed, and I would love to see you again. And also go subscribe over there for some other different content if you are interested. Let's get into some of the stuff that is happening over on dark romance BookTok, shall we? A content warning for this is just that, like, a lot of it's really gross. Like, it's like really gross. So it's gonna be like some sexual content, obviously, and also like kidnap and sexual assault and incest. Those are your trigger warnings for the video. Now you know, let's get into it. These are hard to read. Okay, so we'll start with this excerpt from a book called Darling Venom. When she accidentally finishes on his fingers during her pap smear and he decides to treat her as another patient. The clip is quite long, and I don't think we need to read it to sort of understand the purpose of this, right? Effectively climaxed during her pap smear, and the doctor was turned on by this, but instead of acting on it, he just decided to treat her as a patient because that's so much more sexy. And she was startled that he would just treat her as another patient after she did that. And it's just like so concerning, because I have to say, firstly, a big ugh, yuck, yeah. It's just, I'm so confused as to how anyone finds this remotely like sexy at all. Like, anyone who is thinking about going to a gynecologist and climaxing, have you ever been to the doctor before? Like, getting a pap smear is not fun. It's not pleasant. It's not comfortable. This is not happening. And also, if you are going into a situation, like a professional situation of any sense, and you are sexualizing it, that is harassment or assault. It depends on the level of which what is occurring. If this is what's happening, if you are in a medical procedure and you are like sexualizing the situation enough to be climaxing during it and expecting something out of that, that is assault. And vice versa, if you are a professional performing a procedure on someone and you are using it to get sexual gratification of any sort, that is assault. Yeah? It's not sexy. It's assault. And it's really fucking weird that it's like being viewed as this like sexy, desirable thing of being like, oh, if you go to the gynecologist, you're gonna get like pleasure. No. I need you to stop. I need you to like take a minute, and I need you to stop with that right now. It's so icky. I don't understand how people are being turned on by this. I don't understand how people are writing it. Doesn't make sense at all. Please stop sexualizing professions. Thank you. And also, like, don't be a gynecologist for sexual reasons either. I think it's also really dangerous, like, in the sense that, like, in general, there are a lot of men who are gynecologists, and I don't trust any of them. Why are you, as a man, going to school to learn how to be a gynecologist? I don't trust you. And shit like this makes me trust you less. No, thank you. I refuse to see a male gynecologist. Ever. No. A massive appeal of these dark romance books, and a lot of this side of BookTok are here specifically for the spice. They're here to read their adult material. And listen, I am all for a well-written smut scene. Sometimes it can be written really well. It can be beautiful, it can be sexy, it can be whatever. You can get some well-written literary spice. And I will agree with you that in books, in writing, fan fiction, whatever, that is objectively one of the most ethical ways to be consuming adult content. And if you are someone who is interested in ethically consuming adult content, such as smut or even other forms such as through video, audio, or magazine form, then you would be happy to hear about today's sponsor, Cheeks. Cheeks is a platform for all things sexual wellness and empowerment. They allow a space for everyone to explore their sexualities in a safe and ethical way. They offer a large library of adult films, erotic audio, a taboo-breaking magazine, as well as live workshops. And they aim to have a large level of diversity. So anything you are really looking for, they will have for you. They aim to be inclusive as well as working within people's personal boundaries. Everything is consensual, and the workers are all compensated fairly and have good, strong contracts that keep them safe. It is also a place for you to be able to learn more about yourself and your desires and explore that through any of these means, as well as learning more through their workshops. So not only are you able to visually or audibly indulge in some of this erotica, you also are able to go onto what they have as their pleasure academy and get some of the sex education that you may have missed in school, because we all know how much that was lacking. Cheeks is a place for everyone to feel safe and to be able to have this space to explore that and find things out about themselves and maybe work things out with a partner. If you are interested in trying Cheeks for yourself, then you can use the link in the description with my code TheQueerKiwi7. Then you will get 7 days free when you sign up for an annual subscription. Thank you, Cheeks, for sponsoring today's video, and I hope that you all enjoy. Please do not forget to check them out, and let's get back into the video. So part of the issue with a lot of the spicy content that is being portrayed in most of this dark romance that is being talked about a lot is just the really fucked up power dynamics. Like, there is a lot of incredibly messy power dynamics that exist, and one of the ones that is like incredibly popular, that is incredibly concerning, is how much like captor romance there is. There is so much kidnapping and falling in love with the person who kidnapped you, That's like a massive trope that everyone is like thirsting over. Sometimes they get literally hundreds of thousands of likes. And I have many thoughts. Here's an example of that. When your keeper wants to give you ground rules, this will be your only warning. Vulgarity will not be tolerated. I frowned. Really? I can't curse? The only time it's acceptable is during sex. But I felt the horrified expression. What if I never have sex again? He smirked. Then I guess you will not have the opportunity to use vulgar language, asshole. And what if I use it anyway, despite your command? Then you will be punished, possibly with painful sex. So keep that in mind. Huh? Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know if I heard you correctly. She was kidnapped, and the thing she's upset about is not that she was kidnapped, it's the fact that she can't swear in the presence of her kidnapper. And then he basically said, if you swear, I will painfully rape you. And that's meant to be sexy, mind you. This is meant to be, that's meant to be attractive. This is written as like spicy romance. They're posting this on TikTok to promote this book and telling me it's good. Like, you should read this. And there are people in the comments who are like, what's the name of the book? I need this on my to be read. I'm concerned. I'm afraid and I'm concerned. How are we writing this as being like a sexy romance? I just like truly do not understand. I understand like captor romances to a degree for some people for healing purposes. I understand that like the power dynamic when, you know, the woman who is captured turns around and she ends up having the power. Like, I understand how that can be empowering for people who are healing from trauma if it is written well. But for the most part, that is not who is reading these books. And I do not understand the appeal even a little bit. And I need you to explain it to me like I'm stupid, because I don't get it. I just do not understand how you can read this and find it hot and sexy in literally any way, shape, or form. It makes me want to curl into myself and die. But like, it gets weirder still. Another thing I noticed when going through all of these was the amount of incest. Do you know how many dark romance books there are that are like captor romances and things where there are brothers? I found 3 separate ones, and it seems to be a common trope is brothers all liking the same girl and then all like having sex together. And I've never been more confused and put off by something ever in my life. I don't get it at all, even a little bit. What's happening? Let me read you something, okay? This is a scene from a book titled Curvy 13, and it's basically, from what I can gather, about a group of brothers who kidnap a girl. They all fall in love with her, and they all take turns having sex with her, but also they do it together sometimes. And sex feels like a really loose term, because like, if someone's kidnapped you, what choice do you really have? You know what I mean? Like, sex is used lightly because consent is not really on the table, is it? Here's a scene that I read, so now you have to read it too. My warning for you is that I feel deeply uncomfortable and I hate it and I want to gouge my eyeballs out. So here you go, you're welcome. When he walks in on you touching yourself in front of his brother, whore, he drags you away from him and you hear, "Don't hurt her!" Or what? What will you do? As if to prove his point, he pushes you back towards the bed. Upon you in seconds, he has his knees on either side of your hips. But then you smell perfume. He's been with another woman while holding you hostage? Asshole. You smell like perfume, you bastard. You fight him, reaching up and swinging, hoping to connect with something, anything. "Get off me!" "And you smell like wet pussy," he growls, grabbing both of your hands and banding them above your head. He gets in your face. "Do you like him more than me, pup?" "I don't like you at all." What did I just read? What did I just read with my eyes? He's kidnapped you. He's holding you hostage. And you're mad that he slept with another woman? I don't think he has any morals, bro. He's literally holding you hostage. And you're like, how dare he fuck another woman while I'm his prisoner? Girl, I'm worried about you. Like, in every single conceivable possible way. I'm concerned. I don't understand, once again, the appeal of these, like, kidnapper tropes. How are we finding this hot and sexy? Like, I understand the appeal of, like, kidnapping stuff when you're reading, I don't know, a horror. But for your romance, though? Why are we here? I don't understand. Like, I understand this isn't written for me, but I need to know who it is written for. I need to know who is enjoying these and how they're enjoying them and why they're enjoying them. And like, so many of these books come with really long lists of like trigger warnings from people who don't know what a trigger warning is. I saw one the other day that was like trigger warning and it had fucking baby oil listed. I'm like, honey, that's not a trigger. That's just a thing that exists in your book. You can have content warnings and you can have trigger warnings. They are not the same thing. And it's wild to me that some people just like to read what they deem as the edgiest book. I don't know if people are actually enjoying them or just want to be like, look at what I read. Look at all the trigger warnings it has. Like, look how edgy I am. Like, is this just like a new kind of like edgy, not like the other girls type thing? I have questions. And like, I understand it a little bit more when it's like fantasy, you know what I mean? Because that's like separated from real life, you know? Like, if you have been kidnapped from the 5,000-year-old fucking Fae King from the land of does not exist here, I get it a little bit more because it's so very disconnected from reality. And it's like, that's never gonna happen. That's not real. That's not a situation you will ever find yourself in. There's a bit of disconnect. Whereas if you were fantasizing about just some brothers who are like in the mafia or live like just down the road or whatever, and there's no magic, it's set in very real terms and times, that's why are you fantasizing about like some real life shit that does indeed actually happen to people and being here like, wow, it's so hot and sexy. No, I'm concerned for you. I'm worried about you. What's going on? Do we need to talk? Do you need to talk about it? This brother one too, I have to share another part of it just because I had to read it, so now you have to read it. And that goes, when he can't come because he's traumatized, so his brother reaches up and chokes him while they both fuck you and demands, come for our girl, she is taking your cock and she is loving it. Come. And I just really needed to share that just because it traumatized me, and my job here is to traumatize all of you. And I also would like to once bring up the question of what is going through people's brains. Why is this a thing? It's like the whole twins thing, you know, back in like, I remember watching like shows back in like the early 2000s or whatever with men always like hitting on twins and talking about how hot it is to be with like identical twins. And it's like, I don't understand any appeal of incest even a little bit. Why is this so sought after? Why is it every time there's like brother romance, everyone's like, oh my god, this is so hot, I want to read it. What's the name? Drop the book. I need to add this to my to be read. Oh my god, it's so hot. Forbidden romance is one thing. Forbidden romance when it's incest it's another thing altogether. And when it's incest with people who kidnapped you, why are we just adding together everything bad into one pot and then throwing it out and people are eating it up? What's happening? What did I miss? What's going on? Especially when like most of it is just, it's genuinely terribly written too. Like, it's not even well written. It's not like you're being pulled in because, oh, but the writing is just so good. It's shockingly bad writing. Here's where we get into the issues, right? Is that like I said, is that some people are able to read things and separate it from reality, especially when you're reading fantasy. If you are reading your dark romantasy, like it's the high fae who are taking you hostage and there's magic involved and whatever, like you're separating from reality a little bit. You understand that, you know, that's a whole separate world, right? But the problem comes with there are people who seem to like genuinely have gotten these problematic dynamics in their heads and are making light of very real situations. There's a whole genre of TikToks like this where it just says, when you get kidnapped but you've read too many dark romances, and it's a girl who is like crying, but she's not actually, she's like crying and then going like, heh, heh. And then similar thing, getting kidnapped with my besties and I'm the only dark romance reader in the group, and it's just a bunch of people who look really upset and just like don't want to be there, and then someone being like, heh, 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 heh. And the comments are things like, I'd be like, so which one of us do you think he's gonna fall in love with first? I've read this, he's gonna fall in love with me. I'm giggling and kicking my feet if Ronan Markov walked in. Me. Guys, don't worry, I read about this, they will fall in love with us. I've never related to something more than this. Don't scream or I'll hurt you. Okay, I'm a scream now. Don't try to escape. I'm gladly staying. It concerns me. It deeply troubles me because these are real life actual situations and things that happen. And I feel like we need to not be so much making light of this fact. And I think we shouldn't be like playing up, you know, kidnapping being like a fun, cute thing where like, ooh, I'm gonna fall in love with my kidnapper, my abuser, yada yada. And I know we can sit here and say that, you know, it's all in jest. Kiwi, who cares? It's fine. Stop talking about it. Stop worrying about it. They're all joking. Obviously, this doesn't have any actual real world implications. Doesn't it though? Doesn't it? Because I don't know if you've heard, but recently a movie is being made starring Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. And this movie, ironically enough, is based off of a Colleen Hoover book, which is around the topic of domestic abuse. Now, I haven't read the book. I don't know anything about the book. I have heard a lot of people talk about how controversial Colleen Hoover is and how a lot of her books glamorize and romanticize abuse. And I feel like that's an interesting sort of point to throw in here, and the people who are defending everything that is happening with it. Basically, if you haven't heard, Blake Lively is filing a lawsuit against Justin Baldoni for sexual harassment in the workplace. So what the lawsuit is for specifically, or some of the things in the lawsuit, are unwanted kisses, unwanted talk of pornography and sexual encounters, showing her videos of pornography, and entering her trailer while she is undressed and breastfeeding her infant child. Due to the fact that Justin Baldoni was doing all of these things on their place of work, Blake Lively drew up a contract for everyone to sign to say what was and was not appropriate for the workplace, which, you know, you shouldn't have to do. And on it were these things such as, you know, like, hey, don't fucking kiss me without my consent. And also stop showing pornography videos at work. Stop telling me about your sexual encounters. It's inappropriate. Saying that they needed to use an intimacy coordinator because he didn't want to use an intimacy coordinator, which is a massive red flag. You cannot be filming sex scenes or anything of the such without an intimacy coordinator. That's so dangerous and sketchy as hell. If you didn't want to use one. Not to ask to enter the trailer when she was nude, no unwanted, unconsensual touching, and not to add any additional sex scenes to the movie. And I think all of these are pretty, you know, valid. I don't think any of this should need to be written into a contract. I think just that basic human decency should tell you that you should not do these things. Like, that seems like completely logical to me. And yet he decides to do those things. And then, so obviously Blake Lively has gone through with this lawsuit because he's breaking this contract of very basic things that a human being should do just to be a respectful person. And because of that, Justin Baldoni is filing a lawsuit in return for defamation. And he has hired the same lawyer as Johnny Depp and has basically said that he wants to destroy her. He wants to run a smear campaign and just absolutely destroy Blake Lively. And unfortunately, it's working. And there are women who are taking his side. And a lot of them are these people who are indulging in these dark romance tropes. It is people who are reading these dark romance novels and living in this area of what romance is that are coming out and saying the things that they are. And it's terrifying and deeply, deeply upsetting. There is one of the things is Justin Baldoni sent a 6.5-minute voice note to Blake Lively apologizing, and he sent it at 3 a.m, so his voice is all like raspy and, you know, he's trying to sound seductive. And instead of people being incredibly put off by this, there is a trend of these women making TikToks of them being like, listening to the Justin Baldoni voice note apology like I'm listening to a message from my friend. Listening to the Justin Baldoni voice note, thank you for the lullaby. Like, it's a trend of people just putting it on to like do their makeup, to go to sleep, to just do whatever.
Hey, Blake. It is 2 a.m. Hopefully this does not wake you up. Wow, there's so much I want to say to you, and I hope that we can, Hey, Blake, it is, 2 in the morning. Hopefully this does not wake you up.
They're just using it as a being like, wow, his voice is so hot and sexy. Oh my gosh, wow, listen to that. And it's so insensitive. Like, that is so insensitive. Given the subject, given what he is being accused of, and what he has not denied, by the way. Like, this is shit that he has actively been doing and is known to do. He is actively sexually harassing women. And you're out here being like, but his voice is so sexy though. Are we joking right now? Are you kidding? The amount of TikToks on top of this that are worse of women who are out here saying that the reason Blake Lively is filing this lawsuit is not because Justin Baldoni sexually harassed her. No. It's because she actually fell in love with him and is now jealous because he's not going to leave his wife for her. And so she has to make up that she didn't enjoy these things happening. You know, like, she actually wanted him to, like, kiss her without her consent and to touch her without her consent and to talk about sex and show her, like, she wanted him to do all of that because she was in love with him and that shit was turning her on. And now he doesn't actually want her. She has to, like, pretend that she never wanted him either because she has to settle for Ryan Reynolds. Multiple people are saying this.
I'm on Blake Lively's side because I too would be like, when you're leaving your wife, and when he didn't, after all that flirting, all that neck kissing, all that telling me to shut the fuck up, I would be like, I'm going to marry this man, this tall, beautiful, manly man. And then Blake Lively, being her gorgeous self, gets rejected by that and loses her shit. And then she has to, like, now, like, double down on Ryan Reynolds to show that she's not in love with Justin Baldoni.
Like, are we kidding? Are we kidding right now? What? I love being like, if a man started, like, kissing my neck aggressively and telling me to shut the fuck up, I would fall in love. And the fact that then he didn't want to leave his wife for me, I would file a lawsuit against him for being sexually harassing me and degrading me. Like, no, girl, that's just what he did, though. Sexually assaulting someone is not sexy. Telling someone to shut the fuck up and then sexually harassing or sexually assaulting them, that's not desirable. That's not okay. How about we don't tell women who are victims of this that they're lucky that a man that you find attractive is harassing them? It doesn't matter what he looks like or who he is or anything about him. He was sexually harassing someone and she was uncomfortable, and now you're on his side because he's beautiful and you think that she's jealous? This is the reason why women don't feel safe speaking up or coming forwards. Because not only do they have to deal with men saying that, oh, it's nothing, get over it, and, like, defending their male counterparts so that they can continue to sexually harass women, but it's also women. There are women who are saying that you should just get over it, and actually she asked for it. She's asking for it. Anyone would be lucky to be sexually harassed by him. Fuck off. From the, like, deepest parts of my soul, fuck you, man. Oh my God, how could you care so little for women? Listen to what she is saying. Understand that she is a happily married woman who wants nothing to do with this man and repeatedly told him that and got him to sign a contract that said that. And he violated it, and you're still on his side. What is wrong with you? There's another one that came up on my timeline of people being like, basically, you can add the word white in front of women to try to make something look woke while still saying the most fucked up shit ever. And that is this TikTok. It just says, at the end of the day, Blake Lively is an aging white woman who wants something she can't have. She wants a man, but when she realized she couldn't have him, she cried wolf to her husband and tried ending that man with a case so she didn't get caught for an emotional one-sided affair. Like, girl, shut the fuck up. Her being a white woman is so unbelievably irrelevant to the entire situation. I cannot believe that it is the Gen Z women who are sitting here and actively perpetuating rape culture and defending a man who is sexually harassing people because you think he's sexy and you think it's hot when people touch you without consent, when people tell you to shut the fuck up and pin you against the wall. Like, you think that's sexy, so therefore she's making it up. You are saying that she wanted it, and when the affair wasn't returned, she's pretending that she didn't, instead of the fact that women don't like being harassed. Like, these people are so actively feeding into rape culture and helping this cycle to continue. We need to be believing women. We need to be teaching men that this is not okay, not continuing the cycle of saying that it is desirable to break a woman's boundaries. You shouldn't be saying that if you're hot, women actually want you to harass them. No, don't encourage that. Don't defend that. Don't take this away from her. She needs to win this case. We need this for like all women in general. We have lost enough. Too many people defend shitty men. Shitty men get away with this far too often, especially when they're attractive. We saw it with fucking Johnny Depp, and we're gonna see it again now. Oh my god. And I cannot believe that so many of these women are taking his side. And like, it may seem that we veered wildly off topic from the beginning of this video, and it may seem that there's no crossover between dark romance BookTok and where we are now, but that is why I have brought this up, right? Is the fact that there is a crossover. The people who are saying the takes and these things about Justin Baldoni and taking his side and saying that it was wanted and Blake Lively fell in love with him during all of this, they are the people who are reading these books. They are the people who are taking that energy and they are putting that into real life situations. They are taking these unhealthy relationship dynamics that they find hot in books and applying it to real life. And that is not okay. That's not okay. I understand that these books are fiction. And whenever I talk about topics like this, people are always like, oh, it's fiction. It's not that deep. You know, people are able to separate morals from real life. But some people aren't. Media literacy is not at a high point right now. We are actually lacking severely in media literacy, especially in a time when like people are reading more books now than they have for a while, and yet media literacy is still very low. And I think that we need to have more conversations around books and themes that are happening and having that separation. If you are someone who enjoys these books, please do let me know your thoughts. Like, you can read what you want, but some people are better at separating it from reality than others, obviously. And I just truly do not understand it. I don't get it at all, and I genuinely would love someone to explain to me what it is about these books that are so enticing and that gets you off. Because like, if you want to read just like some smut, there are so many other places to read it. There are so many places where you can read actually like really well written good smut, and it doesn't have to come from books where there is incest and kidnapping and abuse. And a lot of the times I've read some of these smut scenes. They're posted on TikTok. I've read that they're terribly written. They're terribly. Do you know how much better the smut is on like AO3? So much better. Go find something less problematic and just read your smut for a fandom that you're in. There are also just a lot of books that have genuinely well-written stuff that is not just torture porn, you know? Regardless, anyway, how do we stop this spillover from coming into real life and defending genuinely bad people and like stop people from continuing to like perpetuate rape culture in real life because of the media that they are consuming and applying to their actual foundation? Is it to do with partially like a lot of the people who start reading this stuff start reading it when they're teenagers and their brains are still developing? Because these books are for adults, but obviously there's not much restriction on them and people are reading them as teenagers, which is going to then, you know, lead into the development of their brain and their morals and the way they view relationships. What can we do about it? How do we go about dealing with this? I just find it very interesting because every time you try to have a conversation, people do get very, very defensive. I think you can read what you want, and I'm not saying we should ban books. I just think people need to be more critical about what they're reading and then think about how they're applying it to their lives and what is interesting to them and what it means. I just think we need to have better media literacy and have better conversations about them instead of just like, oh, trigger warnings, I want to read it, you know? I think it's the edginess that's the issue. And I think that it's the lack of separation and just reading book after book after book and consuming them without ever digesting them or thinking about what you're reading. That's not helping. But I would love to know your thoughts. Please do let me know, because I think that this is a conversation I can't be having with myself. I think it requires just like a group conversation, and I'm genuinely curious to know what your thoughts are. So please do let me know. I hope that you found this video at all interesting. It's something that like I see a lot more of now that I'm involved in book communities online. I've been seeing a lot more conversations around these things, some of which I agree with, some of which I disagree with. And I just wanted to bring that conversation here where I can see more of it, because I know that a bunch of you are in book spaces and are in different book spaces to me, or the same book spaces as me. I don't know, but I would love to hear your thoughts. So do let me know. A massive thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons. M.A. Ping the Games, Blue Kitsune 24, Ash, Uh-Oh It's Craiglow, Phil the Duck, Jessie, Phenomenally, River, Mr. Noodle, Queen Glimmer, Ella, Lady Nutbar, Radsack, Knitting Menace, Chris, Ellie, and Bobby. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. If you would like to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the top link in the description. For as little as £1 a month, you get my videos 1 to 5 days early and ad-free for said many days. And then for £3 and up, you get things such as outtakes, bonus mini podcasts, live streams, vlogs, and more. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah. When you close your eyes.